This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as reported by Inner City Press. When Sylvester Stallone entered the courtroom, no one expected what he was about to say. The Hollywood legend, known for his iconic roles as Rocky Balboa and John Rambo, brought a bombshell revelation that would not only deepen the case against Diddy, but also point fingers at some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. In a trial already fraught with allegations, Stallone's account of a chilling moment he witnessed at one of Diddy's own parties and the broader network of complicity he exposed left the jury, the prosecution, and the spectators in stunned silence. The clerk's voice rang out first. "Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?" Stallone's gravelly voice, familiar to millions, answered with a firm resolve. "I do. I'm here to tell the truth, no matter who it implicates." Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Nguyen, leading the prosecution, began her questioning with a steady tone, her eyes fixed on Stallone. "Mr. Stallone, can you confirm whether you've had any professional or social interactions with the defendant, Mr. Sean Combs?" Stallone's voice was steady, his words measured. "Yes, I have. I've run into Mr. Combs at various industry events over the years, premieres, galas, after-parties. Hollywood and the music world overlap more than people think. I've known him socially since the late 90s, though we were never close." Nguyen's tone remained focused as she moved to the heart of her questioning. "Mr. Stallone, can you describe a specific incident involving the defendant that you believe is relevant to this case?" Stallone took a deep breath, his voice lowering slightly as he began to recount the memory. "I can. It was in 2010, at a high-profile party arranged by Mr. Combs himself in Los Angeles. It was one of those events where everyone who's anyone shows up. Big names, bright lights, the whole deal. I was there, mingling with some industry folks, when I noticed Mr. Combs talking to a young woman. She was beautiful, probably in her early 20s, just starting out in her career. I could tell by the way she carried herself, eager but nervous." Nguyen's voice sharpened, sensing the importance of what was coming. "What did you overhear, Mr. Stallone?" Stallone's tone grew more intense, his words deliberate. "Mr. Combs was talking to her in a low voice, but I was close enough to hear every word. He said, 'You'll do what I say, or you're done in this town. I made you, and I can break you.'" The young woman reacted angrily. She raised her voice, saying, "I don't want to do it. I didn't sign up for this." That got the attention of a few of us nearby, maybe 5 or 6 people, including me. We all turned to look. Mr. Combs laughed, got real close to her, and said something I couldn't quite hear. After that, it seemed to settle down. He smiled, she nodded, and it turned into a normal thing, like nothing had happened. We all thought it ended there. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs, the weight of Stallone's words settling over the jury. Diddy's defense attorney, Mark Reynolds, stood quickly, his voice sharp. "Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and speculation. The witness is recounting an alleged conversation without context, and his assumptions about the woman's intentions are not substantiated." Nguyen countered swiftly, her tone firm. "Your Honor, Mr. Stallone is testifying to a direct conversation he overheard, which is not hearsay as he was present. His observation of the woman's reaction is relevant to the pattern of coercive behavior central to this case." Judge Elizabeth Carter's ruling was clear. "Overruled. Mr. Stallone, you may continue, but please stick to what you directly heard and observed." Stallone nodded, his voice steady as he resumed. "Thank you, Your Honor. I heard her say, 'I don't want to do it.' And Mr. Combs's response was that threat. He wasn't asking, he was telling her. After he laughed and spoke to her up close, it looked like it was over. I didn't think much of it at the time. I figured it was just a heated moment, something that happens at these parties, and that Mr. Combs would back off or apologize. I thought it would end there, so I didn't make it public. Nguyen's tone remained focused as she pressed further. Mr. Stallone, what did you believe Mr. Combs was referring to when he told the young woman she had to play by his rules? Stallone's voice was firm, his words carrying the weight of his conviction. At the time, I wasn't sure. But now, knowing what I know from this trial, about the freak-offs, about the coercion, I believe he was pressuring her into those kinds of events, where people were forced into things they didn't want to do. It was about control, about making her do something against her will. I could see it in her reaction. She was angry, but she was also scared. Nguyen nodded, her expression serious. Mr. Stallone, you mentioned you initially thought the situation had resolved itself. Can you explain why you now believe it was more significant? Stallone's voice softened, his words laced with regret. I thought it was a one-off, a moment that settled down when Mr. Combs laughed it off. Me and the others who noticed, we figured it was done, that he'd excused himself or made it right with her. But now, looking back, I realize it wasn't the case. That wasn't the only time Mr. Combs did something like that. There must have been many cases, some of much greater intensity. We've seen it in this trial, with Cassie Ventura, with others. That scene at the party, it got the attention of a few of us, but it wasn't just a one-time thing. I can see that now. Nguyen's voice grew more pointed as she shifted her focus. Mr. Stallone, you mentioned hearing about the allegations in this trial. How did that affect your decision to come forward? Stallone's tone grew somber, his words heavy with guilt. Hearing Cassie's story, Wendy Williams's story, it opened my eyes. I've got daughters of my own. I can't imagine what these women went through, what that young woman at the party went through. I've spent my career playing heroes, but I didn't do enough back then. I should have spoken up, should have checked on her. I'm here now because I owe it to them, to Cassie, to all the victims, to help get justice. Nguyen's tone sharpened as she continued. Mr. Stallone, you mentioned that this incident was part of a broader pattern. Did you ever witness other influential figures in the industry who were aware of or involved in similar behavior, who might have enabled the defendant's actions? Stallone took a deep breath, his voice steady but charged with intensity. Yes, I did. Mr. Combs didn't operate in a vacuum. There were others, bigger fish, who knew what was happening, who helped create the environment that let him get away with it. One of them was Clive Davis. The courtroom fell silent, the mention of Davis's name sending a ripple through the spectators. Nguyen's voice sharpened as she pressed further. Mr. Stallone, can you elaborate on what you observed about Mr. Davis and his connection to the defendant? Stallone's tone grew more serious, his words deliberate. Clive Davis, everyone knows him, one of the most powerful men in music. I've known him socially for years, seen him at events, parties. In the late 90s, I was at one of his pre-Grammy parties, those big, extravagant ones he's famous for. Mr. Combs was there, and I saw them together, talking closely, almost like Davis was mentoring him. Davis had this way about him, always in control, always the one calling the shots. I saw Mr. Combs watching him, learning from him. Nguyen's voice remained focused as she probed deeper. What did you observe about their interaction that stood out to you? Stallone's voice took on a note of concern, his words measured. There were young artists at that party, kids just starting out, and I overheard Davis telling one of them to stick around after the party for a private meeting. The way he said it, it didn't feel right. Mr. Combs was right there, nodding along like he was taking notes. I later heard rumors that Davis used alcohol, drugs, whatever it took to keep artists in line, to control them. And I believe that's where Mr. Combs got some of his playbook, using power to manipulate people, especially the young ones. Nguyen nodded, her tone probing. Mr. Stallone, you mentioned hearing rumors about Mr. Davis. Can you elaborate on what you heard about his practices and how they might relate to the defendant's actions? Stallone's voice grew more intense, his words heavy with concern. I heard from people in the industry, producers, managers, artists, that Davis wasn't just a mentor to Mr. Combs in business. They said he taught him how to keep people in line, how to use parties, drugs, alcohol, to manipulate talent. I heard stories that Davis was involved in darker things, exploiting artists, controlling them in ways that went beyond music. Some even said he played a role in the downfall of people like Whitney Houston, that he knew about the kind of things Mr. Combs is accused of here, the freak-offs, the trafficking, and didn't do anything to stop it. I saw enough to believe Mr. Combs was following in his footsteps. Reynolds stood quickly, his objection sharp. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and speculation. The witness is relying on rumors and assumptions about individuals not on trial here. This is irrelevant and prejudicial. Nguyen countered swiftly, her tone firm. Your Honor, Mr. Stallone is testifying to his direct observations of the defendant's interactions with Mr. Davis, as well as industry knowledge that establishes a pattern of behavior relevant to the racketeering charge. This speaks to the broader network that enabled the defendant's alleged actions. Judge Carter's ruling was clear. Overruled. Mr. Stallone, you may continue, but please focus on what you directly observed or heard, not on rumors unless you can attribute them to a specific source. Stallone nodded, his voice steady as he resumed. Thank you, Your Honor. I'll stick to what I saw and heard. At another one of Davis's events, around 2012, I saw Mr. Combs with a young artist, Justin Bieber, actually. Bieber was just a kid then, barely 18, and Mr. Combs had him under his wing. I heard Mr. Combs say to him, "You've got to learn how to play the game, kid. Stick with me and Clive. We'll show you how it's done." It sounded a lot like what I'd heard in 2010 with that young woman. And knowing what I know now, about the freak-offs, about the coercion, I think Mr. Combs learned that kind of control from Davis. Nguyen's voice sharpened as she continued. Mr. Stallone, you mentioned seeing Mr. Davis and Mr. Combs together at parties. Did you ever hear anything about their relationship that might suggest a deeper connection? Stallone's response was careful, his tone measured. I heard whispers at the time that there was more to their relationship than just business. People said Davis and Mr. Combs were closer than most knew, maybe even romantically involved. I don't know if that's true, but I do know Davis was at a lot of Mr. Combs's parties, and he never seemed surprised by what was going on. He'd just smile, sip his drink, and keep talking to the next big star. That always stuck with me. Reynolds stood again, his objection forceful. Objection, Your Honor. This is pure speculation and hearsay. The witness is making inflammatory claims about a personal relationship with no evidence, and it's irrelevant to the charges against Mr. Combs. Nguyen countered swiftly. Your Honor, the testimony establishes the defendant's connections to influential figures who may have enabled or influenced his alleged criminal behavior. It's relevant to the racketeering charge, which requires showing a coordinated enterprise. Judge Carter's ruling was firm. Sustained in part. Mr. Stallone, you may testify to what you observed at these events, but speculation about personal relationships or unverified rumors will be stricken from the record. Proceed, Ms. Nguyen. Nguyen nodded, her voice steady as she shifted her focus. Mr. Stallone, you've mentioned Mr. Davis as a significant influence on the defendant. Were there other industry figures you believe were part of this network? Stallone's voice rose with conviction, his words cutting through the tension. Yes, there were. Beyoncé, for one. I saw her at several of Mr. Combs's parties in the early 2000s, back when she was with Destiny's Child and just starting her solo career. One of those parties, I think it was around 2003 in New York, I saw her there, and I know for a fact a freak-off happened that night. I didn't go into the room, but I heard the whispers, saw the girls coming out, looking shaken. Beyoncé was in the main room, laughing, dancing, like nothing was wrong. She had to know what was going on. Everyone did. But she didn't say a word. The courtroom erupted in gasps, the mention of Beyoncé's name sending shockwaves through the spectators. Diddy's face remained impassive, but his attorneys exchanged hurried whispers, sensing the escalating stakes. Nguyen's tone remained calm, but pointed as she pressed further. Mr. Stallone, are you saying Beyoncé was directly involved in these activities? Stallone's response was careful, his voice steady. I'm not saying I saw her in those rooms, but I'm saying she was there. She saw the same things I did, and she didn't do anything about it. She was already a star by then. She had power, influence. If someone like her had spoken up, maybe things would have been different. But she didn't. She kept climbing, kept winning, while people like that young woman I saw in 2010, like Cassie Ventura, suffered. Cassie's quiet sobs grew louder from the gallery, her hands covering her face as Stallone's words hit home. The jury sat riveted, their expressions a mix of shock and contemplation. Nguyen's voice softened slightly, her tone compassionate. Mr. Stallone, why do you believe figures like Mr. Davis and Beyoncé are relevant to this trial? Stallone's voice trembled with emotion, his words raw and heartfelt. Because Mr. Combs didn't do this alone. He was part of a system that people like Clive Davis helped build, that people like Beyoncé benefited from. They're the bigger fish, the ones who set the stage for all of this. I'm not saying they're guilty of the same crimes, but they knew, they saw, and they stayed silent. And now they're out there, free, while victims like Cassie, like that young woman I saw in 2010, carry the scars. I'm asking this court to look at the whole picture, to investigate everyone who enabled this, not just Mr. Combs. The courtroom fell silent, the weight of Stallone's plea hanging in the air. Nguyen's voice was steady as she concluded her questioning. Thank you, Mr. Stallone. We have no further questions at this time, Your Honor. Judge Carter's tone was measured as she addressed the defense. Mr. Reynolds, do you wish to cross-examine the witness? Reynolds stood, his voice calm but probing. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Stallone, let's be clear. You're making serious allegations against individuals who aren't on trial here. You've admitted you didn't see Mr. Davis or Beyoncé directly involved in any of the activities Mr. Combs is accused of, correct? Stallone's voice was firm, his tone unwavering. That's correct. I didn't see them in those rooms, but I saw them at the parties. I heard the rumors about Davis. I saw the culture they were part of. They knew what was going on. Everyone did. Reynolds's tone grew sharper, his questions pointed. So your testimony is based on hearsay and assumptions, not facts. You're asking this court to believe that Mr. Davis mentored Mr. Combs in criminal behavior, that Beyoncé was complicit, all based on whispers and your own interpretations. Is that right? Stallone's voice rose, his frustration evident. I'm telling you what I saw, what I heard, what I know. I've been in this industry for 50 years. I know how it works. People don't speak up because they're scared, because the system protects the powerful. I'm speaking up now because I can't stay silent anymore. Reynolds nodded, his tone measured as he concluded. No further questions, Your Honor. Judge Carter's voice broke the tension. her tone authoritative. "Mr. Stallone, you may step down. We'll take a brief recess." As Stallone's testimony concluded, the courtroom remained charged with the impact of his words, the names of Clive Davis and Beyoncé now echoing in the minds of everyone present. The prosecution team moved quickly to record Stallone's statement, noting the names he'd provided for potential further investigation. Nguyen met with Stallone after the session, her voice steady as she spoke. "Mr. Stallone, we'll need to go through these allegations in detail. Any specific events, conversations, or individuals who can corroborate what you've heard about Mr. Davis and Beyoncé?" Stallone's voice was resolute, his tone determined. "I'll give you everything I've got. I've seen too much, kept quiet too long. It's time for the truth to come out." Nguyen nodded, her expression serious. "This could lead to a broader investigation into the industry. Your testimony has given us a lot to work with. We'll follow up on every lead." Outside the courthouse, inner-city press reporters swarmed, their reports capturing the explosive moment that had unfolded. One journalist's voice was urgent as she spoke into her microphone. "Sylvester Stallone's testimony today has blown the lid off the entertainment industry's darkest secrets. By naming Clive Davis and Beyoncé as part of the network that enabled Sean Diddy Combs' alleged crimes, Stallone has turned this trial into a referendum on the entire industry. His allegations, tying Davis to a culture of manipulation and suggesting Beyoncé's complicity, could spark a wider probe into Hollywood and music's power players. Another reporter chimed in, his tone grim. "Stallone's call for accountability has resonated with victims like Cassie Ventura, who was visibly emotional during his testimony. With the prosecution now armed with new names to investigate, Diddy's defense faces an even steeper challenge. This trial just got a lot bigger and a lot messier." As the reports spread, the public reaction was swift, with social media erupting over Stallone's testimony and the implications for figures like Davis and Beyoncé. The trial day may have ended, but the fallout from Stallone's words promised to reverberate far beyond the courtroom, challenging the industry to confront its complicity in the alleged crimes at the heart of Diddy's case.